sometimes we struggle with, okay, we have to niche, but yet we have to be unique. Sometimes the uniqueness that you have in your business is those multiple passions.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips. Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 28, and today we're chatting about 7 signs that you are a multi-passionate business owner. So we did a poll a little while back on Instagram asking this question to our Instagram audience, and we really weren't sure what we were going to get. But about 70% of you said that yes, you do identify as a multi-passionate business owner, which left 13% of people saying, not really sure. And then 19% wondering what the heck that even means. And honestly, we weren't sure if it was going to be 70% wondering what it means and then 10% saying yes. So this number was kind of surprising to us because we feel that we are multi-passionate business owners and we really wanted to know who else out there felt like they also could identify with that. So we decided that this would be a fun little episode to chat about if you are that 19% wondering, what the heck does multi-passionate mean? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So we wanted to write down 7 signs that we think identify or help you really realize like, yeah, I am multi-passionate. I can call myself this. So we're going to walk through each of these, why we feel like we fit into that bucket, and then just kind of help you understand if you can identify with this too.
Yeah, so it's funny too because I think we just kind of figured out recently that we are multi-passionate because we were like, what exactly does this mean? And like, do we fall into this bucket? And then we were kind of talking about it and we were like, holy crap, we do, because what Abby does and what I do are 2 completely different things. And we started this business knowing that we were going to go into it doing these 2 different things and offering these 2 completely different services. And that makes our business a multi-passionate business because these are different skills that each of us have that the other one couldn't do. So that's the first one, is that your talents and skills don't seem to fall into one bucket. So Abby is the SEO genius on our team. I'm the branding one on our team, and
branding genius.
Sorry. And so it's just funny because I don't want to touch SEO. Like I know enough to be dangerous with it, but like I am not going to do it for our clients. I'm not going to do it for ourselves, our own website, because it's just not the thing that I'm passionate about or the thing that I'm an expert in. So I'm going to do what I'm passionate about, and that's branding and developing creative. So I think it's just this awesome dynamic that we have going on, that she's able to do this one skill and service and I'm able to do the other skill and service, but together we can still have a business. Like we don't have to be separated in order to do these things and offer these skills to our clients. We can make it one business, but we just very clearly state that this is what Abby owns, this is what Courtney owns. And I would say that our audience is so well versed in that now that when they come to us, if we get a client, they're like, oh, I know that I'm going to be working more with Courtney if I'm signing up for branding, or more with Abby if I'm signing up for SEO. So I think it's just like a really unique thing that people don't tend to think about.
For sure. And I think even if you're not in like just 2 people like us, you might also feel this way. You might feel like you have multiple skills that don't fall into a single bucket. And we see this a lot actually with our clients. Like people fill out the questionnaire, they say, here's what I'm passionate about, but I'm not sure how to bring this one passion into my business. So I'm just going to put it off to the side for now. And we see this happen so often. Yeah. And the second we read that, we, rather than feeling discouraged for them or like, oh yeah, you should probably drop that, we immediately get inspired because we're like, wow, that's what makes you you. Like that's what makes you so unique, bringing those multiple passions together. So I think that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So The second sign is that you've tried all the niching down you possibly can by trying to choose one offering or one product category. Or maybe you've tried to niche down to a particular audience and it just seems impossible. So we can resonate with this so much because we have these conversations all the time. We talk to both product and service-based businesses. Like, that's a very easy way that people niche, yet it doesn't seem to make sense for us. And same thing with the offerings, like Court just said, it doesn't seem to make sense that we pick just one thing. Like, we're not just going to become a branding agency. We're not just going to become social, just going to become SEO, because it just doesn't make sense and it wouldn't serve us. So you might be feeling the same way where you've tried, because niching down is something that's so trendy, or like
it's talked about so much. And I think people push other people to try to do it so much. So I think that's where people are like, oh, I have to niche down. I have to find a particular client or service and only stick to that one. And we just feel this outside pressure. And then you kind of start to crumble and you're like, I don't know who I should be talking to, or I don't know who my ideal audience is. And Abby and I, we struggled with this, like she said, right away. And we were kind of like, who should we be going after? And we went through all the clients that we've worked for and we were like, we don't want to particularly like remove any, service-based or product-based. We like it all. So that's where we kind of were like, our services are our niche, where we offer specific services in these specific areas, and that's kind of what what we've hung on to. But yeah. I think it's just a lot of pressure, and it's just unfortunate because people feel like in order to have a successful business, you have to have your defined niche, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. And it's also something to consider and think about your audience. Do you think your audience likes multiple passions that you are bringing together? Like, that is, sometimes we struggle with, okay, we have to niche, but yet we have to be unique. Sometimes the uniqueness that you have in your business is those multiple passions. That's what makes someone choose your business over someone else's, because you do this other thing too. So I think that can be such a unique way of thinking about it, rather than thinking like, oh, I'm failing because I'm not niching down.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to number 3, the third sign, and that is when you choose to narrow down, you are starting to feel bored and uninspired. So this kind of ties back to number 2. If you are feeling that pressure that you need to niche down, and then you finally do niche down, and once you're there, you start to kind of lose that momentum. I think that just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to niche down. Go back to serving the audience that you were serving prior to niching down, because we don't start these businesses or have these multi-passionate, ideas or businesses and then become uninspired. Like, that's not the point. We have so much passion for this and so much energy for this that when we start, we're so excited. Nobody wants to feel the burnout. I feel like it does happen in every business. It fluctuates. But if you are continually feeling uninspired, then I think you need to reconsider not being so niched. Or if you did niche down like really, really specifically, maybe take a step back and kind of like pull your niche back a little bit more. So like, if you are a wedding photographer in Minneapolis and you only do the Minneapolis area and it's only weddings, then you start to become uninspired and you're like, actually, I really liked working with families. Like, why don't I just go back and work with families, but I still like weddings? I think people just need to like think through that, because they feel like they need to get so specific, but they don't necessarily have to. They can pull back again and service and be a provider for multiple different audiences.
Yeah, we have kind of experienced this a little bit just within the past year. I'd say for our own business too. Like, within the last year, we got very streamlined in our branding offerings, our social offerings, our SEO offerings. They are all very streamlined, efficient. They run, like, we love them. We love the packages that we have for our clients. They make a ton of sense. They make a lot of impact for our clients. They drive results. Like, that's the goal, right? But we'd been doing that consistently for a year, and we were kind of like itching. Like, something was like itching at us. Like, what's next? What should we do next? Because we don't want it. Like, the whole reason of all of us starting our own business and going into entrepreneurship is because we want to continue to feel inspired and continue to, there's a fine balance of change and like those inspirational new things in our life. And I think if you continue to narrow down and start feeling that bored and uninspired feeling, chances are that maybe you're not leaving that room for those additional passions that really help us feel inspired about our business. And if you're bored, chances are your audience also feels it, because when you're not excited about something, it comes through in everything you do, and your audience is going to feel the same way. So the fourth sign that you might be a multi-passionate business owner is that if you think about your past, maybe you switched majors a lot, or you switched careers a lot, or you just switched paths a lot in this entrepreneurship journey. Maybe you're already on your second business as an entrepreneur. Like, this is something where change kind of suits you. You feel the need to not stick with one thing just because you're told to, and you like exploring new paths and avenues when they come to you. Yeah. I 100% resonate with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think before we started Duo, I would freelance graphic design, but there was also a time where I was really big into photography. And I actually sat down with Abby's mom like a couple years ago thinking that that's what I was going to do. I thought I was going to become a photographer, which is like kind of laughable now. But I was struggling with like, well, how do I do both of these? Like, if I want to be a photographer and I want to do freelance graphic design, there's no way I can do it both. Like, that's just too much. And I kind of like talked myself out of it. And then eventually I just like was like, I can't do photography. This isn't for me. But I think it's just that mindset that if you have multiple passions, that you can get that, like you can do it. It's just a matter of like figuring out what that line is between both of them, figuring out, how to make sure that you're still getting personal time, because when you're multi-passionate, I feel like you have so much energy and so much passion that your job is like your life, essentially. It's kind of your baby. So I think it's important to grab them all, like grab all the things that you're super passionate about, but then, figure out how it fits into your life and, make sure to avoid that burnout if you're going to be multi-passionate. But I mean, yeah, it's sad to me when people are like, I want to do all of these things, and then they don't, because they feel like pressured to only do one thing.
Yeah. I think those are the moments where, like, as in like the marketing type agency that we are, like, those are the moments where I feel like we feel most inspired for our clients. Like, when they tell us, I like this and this, but I have no idea how to bring it together. That's when we're like, oh my gosh, this is what you do. Like, this is who your audience is. This is why they're going to love both of those. This is why you can magically bring it together, because it's uniquely you and no one else is doing it. Like, these are bringing together multi-passionate things into one business is like kind of your secret sauce of what you do. So I think owning it can just be such a huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people are actually mind blown when they meet multi-passionate people, because they're like, wow, you do this and like how? And then I think people love the story behind it all. And so I think people just are craving that. I think they find it really intriguing and interesting, and therefore want to learn more, and then eventually would like maybe convert. So I think it's just really interesting.
Yeah. My favorite example of this, she was just on the podcast, Sarah Kleist, because she is both an actress and a web designer. And I remember when we first started working with her for doing some SEO for her website, she was like, I don't know how the two of these live together. Like, I have no idea. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, from an SEO perspective, you hear all the time, like, yeah, you have to niche down. You have to pick one audience. You have to pick one keyword. But that's so not true. Your audience can serve multiple people who are searching for you. And the best part is that, say for her, an agency or someone is looking for talent, they land on her page, and then they also know someone who needs web design. They're like, wow, she also does this? Like, that's awesome. It brings a whole new avenue of work that you're actually interested in, because it suits both paths of your journey. But people might just find you based on one. So like, we even talk about this with our shop. Like, our shop we are not meant to be shirt design. Like, we're not going to be shirt designers. That's not the future of our business. Yeah, we don't think. That's not the plan of our shop. But our shop was to help drive in people who are also looking for inspirational shirts that help speak to them on their journey of entrepreneurship, or looking for fun items for brand shoots, because these are kind of our people, because we do that too. And that's kind of how they can find us and then discover the other things that we do. So thinking about your multiple passions in that way as just new, almost like feelers out there to help bring in new audiences and connect them with everything else you do. It's just such a cool way to market.
Yeah, absolutely. So then number 5, where you might be a multi-passionate business owner or person, is that you've never tended to fit into the traditional 9 to 5 career path. And I feel like Abby and I definitely feel this because we came from this. And it maybe didn't start that way. I think we both, we started at the agency, and for me anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, agency life, this is what everybody talks about. This is the big dream. I'm going to work 75 plus hours a week and it's going to be great. And then you start to do that year after year and you're like, wow, this is not great. This is way too many hours. I don't have a personal life anymore. I am not I'm not growing, I'm not evolving, I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. I'm so structured at my job that I don't want to be that structured. I want it to be a little bit more loose and a little bit more organic. And I think that's where, if you're feeling that, you are definitely for sure an entrepreneur. You have that entrepreneur mindset. But again, multi-passionate, because people who don't want that structure, who don't want that 9 to 5, which is fine if you do, totally fine if you do. But if you don't, you're striving for more. You're trying to reach for something that you're super passionate about, but you're not going for it yet because you are at that 9 to 5, or you're trying to figure out how to avoid that 9 to 5. And I think that that's a huge sign that you should run after your passion and you should do what you want to do.
Yeah, I think the structure part of it is like the biggest thing, because when you're in a traditional 9 to 5 job, you have a job title, you have job descriptions, and you are supposed to do what fits into that box. And I think as a multi-passionate person, that probably doesn't feel natural to you. You probably want to touch things that are other people's jobs too. I mean, I even felt a little bit that way at our agency because we had I was on the account side. So I was like the account owner. I interacted with the client. And then we had other people who were on like the insights team who like did all the insights and analytical work. And then you had other people who were more on like the analytic performance side. And like it was so segmented. And even sometimes the branding things, like I wasn't even allowed to be a part of some of the branding brainstorms.
It was great.
It was heartbreaking. I wanted to be there.
Yeah. They actually like really set it up so you only have your one specific role and you only work on these brands and you only talk to these clients every so often. I think that was something I struggled with too, is that Abby and the account side had way more client interaction than us on the creative side did. And I just found that, like, I understood that she needed to communicate with a client on a daily basis, but I never understood why we couldn't be client facing as much as we did for the client. It just always boggled my mind. And, Abby would always push for it. She'd always be like, okay, Courtney needs to be at this meeting, or like she needs to be here and talking to the client.
Broke the rules.
Yeah. And so it was just, and that's part of it, the rules. Like when you're a multi-passionate business owner, you set your rules. Like you define what those rules are. And if you're starting to realize that it's causing burnout or it's causing, any sort of disruption in your life, then you reset the rule. You break it, you start over, you try a new rule, and that's how you move forward, which again goes back to that structure. You're the one that's able to structure your business how it fits best for you and your personal life. And I think that's amazing. I think that's something that's super, people love it when it comes to small businesses. I think that's one of the big things that people strive for, is to have that flexibility. And when you have these passions, you're able to work in that flexibility way easier than if you're stuck with that 9 to 5.
Absolutely. Yeah. Breaking that box. Like we don't fit into a box. It's just
absolutely not.
how it works. So the 6th sign is that these new ideas and avenues that are popping up into your head that you want to explore for your business actually lights a fire under you rather than causing immediate hives. So I say immediate because sometimes you still might get a little bit of hives. I think we're all human, right? So any new idea that is a big idea or something that really excites you might still cause a little bit of stress, imposter syndrome, like all the things we all experience because we're all humans. But those avenues are something you can't ignore. Like you immediately get inspired, you get excited, and you're like, we have to do this. Like we have to put this out into the world because this is such a cool idea, and you just feel like you won't be happy unless you actually get it out there. And I think this is so true for people who are multi-passionate, because when you come up with that idea, you know that the world needs it. Like you're not just going to hold back just because you fit into this one path that you chose for yourself. Like you adjust and you make it work.
Yeah. I think too, just having something that lights a fire under you constantly is something that a lot of people feel like isn't a realistic thing. I think they think like this is a unicorn. That's not a thing. But it's so true, because when we were getting to the burnout at our agency, it's not that I didn't like what I was doing at the agency, because I love anything with design. It doesn't matter really what it is. But I was just starting to feel that burnout of kind of the same thing day in and day out. There was no challenging. It was the same client. I didn't get to voice my thoughts and opinions like you can in your own business. And I think that's where I started to lose my fire. My fire went out really quick. And that's when I went to Abby and I was like, I can't. Like, what, how do we get out of this? How do we do the thing that we really want to do that really excites us? And so I think, if you are losing that flame, it's probably a time for you to reconsider what you're doing and to go after that passion of yours that does light that fire under you.
Absolutely.
And then number 7, the last one, is a question. So do you naturally bring ideas together that are unrelated? And this would be the number one thing that would make you a multi-passionate business owner, I would say, because this is where people are like, oh my gosh, I do SEO and Court over here does branding. Those are so unrelated. How can you make that work? And we didn't even bat an eye, I don't think, when we came up with this idea of starting our business and having these be our services or offerings, because we were like, hey, you're the professional over here in that side of the court, and I'm the professional on this side of the court, so we can make this work. So I think when people think of two things that are completely unrelated, let's say you want to start a burger shop, but you're also a photographer, and then you also like to do graphic design on the side. None of those really relate. And so I think people are like, well, I love all of these things. There's no way that I can do all of them, but that's not true. You can. You absolutely can do them. And like Abby said earlier, your story is that you are the unique one in this space, because you are the one that has this multi-passion and you're the one that's going out and doing it. And that's how it all ties together, is your story, that you have these unique things that you're passionate about, and it all comes together in your story. And we've said this so many times on this podcast, but people love stories, because people love to hear from other people on like how they did, like how they built their empire, or how they started 2 businesses or 3 or 4 businesses, and how they all came together. Like, where did you get this idea to start this burger shop when you have been a photographer for 15 years and then all of a sudden you start doing this? Like, how did that come together? And people just love that.
I think there's, like, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that burger shop would have an awesome Instagram with amazing photos.
Right? And graphic design. So you just
Right?
think of how it all kind of comes together too, how one business can feed off the other business, can feed off the other business. And it's just so powerful.
I think that's why there's this huge influx of people building side businesses that are coaching on what they already do. Like, we see this all the time with product-based businesses, with photography coaches. Like, this is something that's so big right now because you are finding this other avenue of passion that you have outside of just the product or service you're doing. You want to help and coach other people who also do that, and you're bringing that together seamlessly because you know that your audience is made up of people who fit both avenues. And I think that's so cool. We have a client right now that we're doing branding for, Valley Made Phoenix, PHX. Go look them up because they're super awesome and their brand is amazing. But where she has talked to us a little bit about an avenue of both. She does party planning, so balloons and garlands and like all of that gorgeous stuff that you want to make your party like stand out. All of that planning, but she also wants to bring a sustainability side into the business, which is genius and something that so sets you apart as uniquely you, knowing that, hey, this company also is going to make sure that my balloons aren't going in a landfill and that they're actually helping the environment. And the people that she's hiring on her team are people that are giving back to the community.
Yep.
I'm going to choose to work with her because of those reasons.
Absolutely.
Not in spite of it because I'm confused. So I think like that's the best part about bringing your passions together, is because it helps you be uniquely you.
Yeah, for sure. And when she came to us, I think she was a little bit just nervous about like, I've got, these multi-passions within this business and I'm not sure how to bring it together with this branding. And that's where we get so excited, because we're like, oh, we can absolutely make this work. We will make this work for you. We'll figure it out. This is our job to help you make them all come together and make sense. So I think that that's just amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So if you are like us, you listen to this episode, you most likely nodded along to everything that we're saying and know that you're not alone. If you have been feeling kind of frustrated, like you're not really sure where to go, or maybe one of your passions is just sitting on the table collecting dust because you don't know how to incorporate it, just know that you can thrive in this space, that your ideas can come together and they can actually be an asset to you and not something that you need to be scared of or something that you're worried about incorporating. This can actually be the thing that helps your business thrive and take it to the next level. So we are so excited about all of this because we don't really want to let the cat out of the bag, but we're also working on something that we're super excited about and fits this whole light a fire under us kind of feeling, working with more multi-passionate business owners. So stay tuned. We're not going to leave you hanging with these signs and then wondering what the heck should I do now. No. We'll have so much more coming in the coming episodes and in the coming months on Instagram and all of our content moving forward. Yes. So we're just so excited to help all of you.
And if you listen to this episode and you're like, oh my gosh, I think I'm this person, but I'm not totally sure, or if you have any questions about it, you can always hit us up on Instagram at duo.collective in our DMs. We love to voice chat in there. So if you ever have a question about it, or you just like this episode lit a fire under you and you want to chat about it, we are always happy to chat about it. So
yes, absolutely. If you like this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.